Hello everyone and welcome to the Green Man channel. Hope you're doing good and well. So it's time for another album review this weekend and I'm talking about technical death metal once again. This is Archspire's fifth studio album, which is titled Too Fast to Die. It was released on the 10th of April and it was self-released by the band, the first actually in their 5 studio albums to be self-released. Their previous 4 albums were released under Season of Mist, and this album is 8 tracks and 39 minutes. So Archspire, I mean, even within the realm of technical death metal, which is a pretty extreme genre in and of itself, this is extreme. This is super, super fast music. It won't be for everyone. And, I can remember listening to Relentless Mutation for the first time back in 2017. And I was a little bit overwhelmed by that at the time. I was thinking, God, I'm not sure even with my taste in extreme music that this is something I can keep up with, or if it's just a little bit too fast to even enjoy. But I loved it. It kind of grew on me. And one thing I really liked was the sort of tongue-in-cheek style that album had. It kind of had a humour about it and lots of kind of hooks within the fast kind of, and those vocal runs from Ollie Ray Alleron, which is just incredibly impressive how he maintains breath control when he is like doing these hyper growls, these really fast vocal runs. I just don't know how he does that in conjunction with, the insanely fast drums here of Spencer Moore, and then the really fast guitar work of Dean Lamb and Toby Morelli, and just how this band have that synergy when they are so ambitious with everything that they do. In fact, I'd say with every Archspire album, I would, on musicianship terms, be giving their albums 10 out of 10s, all of them, because musician-wise, they are phenomenal. I think, once again, as with Bleed the Future, which was an album which featured on my interview list for 2021, as is the case with this album, once again, it's another pretty stellar release from this band. It's got everything I think you would come to expect from Archspire. But this album is very, very well put together by the band. I feel like it doesn't have too many of those like slower, almost jazzy breaks that the band sometimes put into their music. I feel like this one is pretty fast and furious for the most part. There are, however, moments I'm going to highlight when I go into the tracks in a moment, which I really enjoyed, which were some of the slightly slower tempo moments in the album. So let's go into the songs actually as of now. So the opener, Liminal Cipher, this track has this kind of these stunning stop-start dynamics in it. It is, as with a lot of Archspire tracks, this one is a full throttle kind of track. It lays down the gauntlet, I think, for the rest of the record in a good way. And you get introduced to some of Ollie's squeals as well as his brand of, as I say, hyper growls and hyper grunts, I like to call them. Third track on the album is another one I'm going to talk about here, and it is called Carrion Ladder. Now, this song is a bit of a Green Man, the Green Man latched onto this one, and it's because it had a groove about it. It had that sick, sick riff repeating at times, which I loved, and I thought that was a headbangable riff. That, and I thought that was really well worked into the song and its different parts of the track as well. That was a favourite for me on repeat listens to this record. Another track I loved was Limb of Leviticus, which actually came later in the album's second half, and I'll say why, because it was a refreshing take on their sound. It was almost melodic death metal-like, but fast. I mean, take like a classic Dark Tranquility song and put it on fast forwards. I feel like Limb of Leviticus has that sort of a overtone about it, a little bit of a sadness even. And it's rare that I would use the words like an element of sadness with really any of Archspire's music, but that's how this track kind of slightly came across to me. And I really liked that. I liked that refreshing take on their music that, for me, this song offered. Another favourite, honestly, we are talking album closers again. This year is giving us some great closing tracks, and that was the case with title track Too Fast to Die. More turbulence, more classic Archspire, full throttle blasts with a bit of a discernible bit of thrashiness here as well, as whilst it's very fast still, there is definitely sort of that undercurrent of thrashiness to this song, which I enjoyed. I will say, however, there is a however with this song. At the very end, there's a fade out to this track. I think for this, given that it's the final song on the album, I would have liked the band just to rather, to just stamp their authority on this song a bit more at the end rather than having a fade out, because I thought this song deserved an epic climax. It should have had an epic climax, whether that was a mind-numbing guitar solo from Dean Lamb, or whether it would be a huge chunky riff just to finish this one on a high. I felt like the album needed that, and it would possibly score even higher than the score I'm going to give, which is going to be very high anyway, right? I'm giving this album a 9 out of 10. It's another stunning record from the band, and the only reason I think that I'm not giving it any high, a 9.5 or a 10, like I have done with a couple of recent albums, is just, for me, I felt like they could have just varied the pace and a couple more spots on the record just to give it a little bit more of a sense of variety. And at the end, they could have just finished on that really climactic high and just sort of, as I say, stamped their authority on the record. So for me, this is getting a 9 out of 10. I still loved it. I thought it was, another phenomenal album from 2026. I mean, this album, given the first 3 or 4 months of the year, this year, given the first 3 or 4 months of the year, is setting to be a really great year for metal if it carries on like this, at this rate. Anyway, from me, the Green Man, do drop a like and a sub if you're new to this channel. It supports everything I do here. Otherwise, from me, until next time on the channel, it is bye for now.